and this is episode 5, and we are talking about real Kisan Kalyan. We've spoken about a number of ways and means by which we can increase the farm yield and thereby the revenues that are generated for our farmer community. And today we talk about drip irrigation and the impact that it can have in the farming technology that is used to allow for farming agriculture to be boosted. Farming technologies in India have taken a massive leaps and bounds in the last 5 decades. India's green revolution in the 1960s transformed the agriculture from famine-prone to food-secure. High-yielding seeds, fertilizers and irrigation systems like canals skyrocketed the crop yields, but they burdened the land and water resources as well. While it was a success, it was not without its flaws. Today, the focus shifts towards sustainable future with practices like drip irrigation, saving water, organic farming, nurturing the soil, and empowering small farmers for a thriving agricultural landscape. The Green Revolution's legacy lives on, but its future depends on embracing this innovation. And while traditional drip irrigation offers significant water savings, new technologies are pushing the boundaries even further. The smart emitters with sensors constantly monitor the soil moisture and adjust water flow accordingly. They eliminate overwatering. Biodegradable drip tapes made from plant-based materials reduce the plastic waste and offer end-of-life solutions. Subsurface drip irrigation places emitters underground, minimizing evaporation and weed growth. And furthermore, the Internet of Things integrated systems connect drip networks to weather data and real-time monitoring. They allow for remote control and optimization based on specific crop needs. Now, these advances promises even greater water efficiency, reduced environment impact, and increased crop yields. They pave way for a more sustainable future for the agriculture. Now, let's start this conversation, and I'm going to bring into the discussion Rajiv Kumar Roy. Rajiv is the founder and managing director of AgriPlast Tech India Private Limited. And Rajiv, quickly a response from you about drip irrigation and the extent with which it has been used by our farmer community.
Hi, good evening. Drip irrigation is, of course, one of the things that is being used by the present farmers. Am I audible well?
Yeah.
Right. So drip irrigation is definitely used by the modern farming, but that is just the basic of the advanced farming. World has moved from drip irrigation couple of steps ahead. Like what has used the farmer who is doing the drip irrigation, now they have upgraded to mulch uses, they have upgraded to crop cover uses, they have upgraded to net house uses, and they have upgraded to the poly house uses. So the technology has moved on, and there is a lot of newer technology now in place with the farmers level. At the farmers level. So drip, of course, being the first step of modern farming, but then there are more advanced levels of farming already being implemented.
Right. But when we, okay, let's take it step by step. You say there are more advances that the global agriculture community is witnessing in saving water, in increasing the crop yield, and thereby saving the underground water table that is so essential for the farmer community. But here you talk about how there are these various variants that are also being witnessed. But in India, if we talk about the farmer community, the agricultural land, and what percentage of the agricultural land is actually irrigated by drips?
I think the percentage is not even 10% at this moment, but it is likely to increase because in government of Karnataka itself, today I was talking to the chief operating officer of one of the largest irrigation companies in the world, Netafim Irrigation. He says they are doing more than 80,000 hectares of community irrigation projects right in Karnataka. So it is under major implementation by government right now.
Okay.
I don't know the exact number of acres, but this is very much being implemented because the farmers are seeing the benefit of higher yields, reduced water consumption, and increased, labor saving and the increased income. These are the direct benefits of using the drip irrigation at this moment for the farmers.
Okay. Dr. Amarjeet Singh, he is the Block Agriculture Officer from Sonipat, joins me on the telecast. And Dr. Singh, as Rajiv mentioned that this is an initiative that has taken by the government on a national level. And how has your experience been in the transformation that is witnessed of the traditional ways of irrigation versus drip irrigation, and not just drip irrigation? Are we moving a step ahead?
Actually, drip irrigation is very nice system of irrigation rather than surface irrigation and flood irrigation, because after using this, the farmer can achieve their goals in minimum expenditure. Like when we use flooding irrigation water, then the weeds they grow in a very high quantity, and then we use pesticide for the weedicide for that, एंड देन सरफेस वाटर एवेपोरेशन जो है वो भी बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाता है. आफ्टर दैट लीचिंग ऑफ वाटर जो होती है वो भी काफ़ी बढ़ जाती है. तो farmers cannot save water, but drip irrigation save all the things, that expenditure of the farmers and the water evaporation and water leaching, and with water content, the content of more and more they are using these fertilizers and pesticides in their crops. So we can stop them very easily. And near about 70,000 hectare in India is under drip irrigation. At least it is about 4% of our total. And in Haryana, it's about 6,000 hectare under drip irrigation. And we are trying to teach the farmer adopt this irrigation system rather than flooding irrigation.
Okay, so that Dr. Amarjeet, what percentage of the farming land has been able to be covered by drip irrigation in Sonipat?
It is at least we need to improve our 6,000 to 30,000 of total hectare area under this drip irrigation. We are trying to extend it more and more, but there is one problem of the farmers, for small farmers, because it is very costly for small farmer. 1 acre cost about 50,000 to 65,000 per acre. So it is not bearable for a small farmer, like 1 acre farmer, 2 acre farmer.
So
but
is the government giving subsidies or exempting these farmers from paying for drip irrigation?
Yes, subsidy, they are availing the subsidies also, but even though some farmers are not like to cannot do expenditure on this, but still we are trying to teach them to adopt this. This is very good system of irrigation.
Okay, Prashant Vikram also on the show with me. He's from the Faculty of Agriculture, SGT University. Prashant, is drip irrigation really a viable solution to the problems of water resources that our farmers face across the country?
Yeah, perfectly. I mean, it's really a very good solution. There is no doubt that drip irrigation is a good solution for the country as of now, considering your water shortage, and not only current but in future as well. So I will let's take an example of like rice wheat cropping system, because I come from the rice Indo-Gangetic plains. So in those areas, I have seen there is the drip irrigation is very rare. So I have seen mostly in rain-fed areas. So if you see the country based on irrigation, so almost half is rain-fed and half is irrigated. So like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, in these areas, most MP, these are mostly rain-fed. I mean, farmers are mainly dependent on the rain-fed, on the rains for their. So, drip irrigation is expanding in those areas very fast. In Haryana also, in some parts of Haryana, not everywhere. Where there is canal irrigation in Punjab and Haryana, it's good. So I believe along with the canal irrigation, drip irrigation has a big impact. And one more point I would like to emphasize, as one of you mentioned, that drip irrigation does not provide irrigation but it helps in improving the precision. We can provide, we can give fertilizer, we can give chemical inputs, and I particularly work on quinoa as of now, so which is sort of a relatively newer crop, not new, but a relatively newer crop. So when we when we sow quinoa in the field, so its germination has a problem. So we sow quinoa on the tip of drip irrigation point, and side by side we put fertilizer and irrigation is given. So
Okay.
the crop management becomes very efficient. So no doubt drip irrigation has should be encouraged, and it is a future.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. In the Shekhar Singh, uh, drip irrigation has been there as an alternative for several decades now. The fact that less than 10% of the farmers in our country utilize this alternative is something that needs to be pondered upon as well. The fact that they are not able to afford this more expensive alternative to building canals and having water tankers and relying on other sources of water, or in fact because they don't have other sources of water, they are just reliant on rainwater. How do we ensure that this is then brought to the reach of larger percentage of the population? And if it's a more expensive alternative, can the government get into the system and allow for large subsidies to be provided? How can we implement this particular way of irrigation?
So Megha, thank you for having me on your show. I agree with the earlier panelists, and especially Mr. Roy, when he says that there are other more efficient ways of doing this. But of course, the drip irrigation system has its place. My own family had implemented in 1996 the drip irrigation system on our mango orchard, and I can tell you that for fruit crops, the drip irrigation system is a miracle. When we talk of other tree crops, it works really, really well. If we talk about arid and semi-arid zones in which we are trying to plant trees like quinoa, citrus, and other things, the drip irrigation system actually works wonderfully. But as soon as we shift to grain crops, for example, wheat and paddy and other areas in the Gangetic Plain, we find that the efficiency of the system reduces. And then there are better systems, cheaper systems with less technology innovation that work better there. So when you ask the question of why is the technology not spread beyond 10%, it's because the 10% are the maximum efficiency farmers that can adopt this technology and use them well. So horticulturists are, great with this. And if the government wants to expand its fold, you need to look at re-engineering of the pipes. The coagulation in the pipes is a major problem. There is calcification. There is other mineral deposits that happen on the pipe, because of which the systems go redundant. Otherwise, there should be newer materials, more decomposable materials, which are actually making the pipe cheaper. One of the other panelists said that it still costs the farmer about 50,000, and I agree that in different states, given the different subsidy ratios, the farmer is still paying a lot of money for the drip irrigation system and the fertigation system. The government has already subsidies in place. The budget has been underutilized, but the government is looking towards this. And if we have a realistic goal of shifting all our horticulture, all our vegetable farming towards drip irrigation, we will be saving a lot of water and also achieving the goals of the government to actually implement drip irrigation systems. Now, having said that, I will say that I will specify that this is limited to a certain number of crops, certain agroclimatic zones, and cannot be implemented everywhere. If you implement it everywhere, it will be a disaster. There are better methods, cheaper methods, and more nature-driven methods that can be applied to save water all over the country. But definitely, the drip irrigation system is a magic miracle for the horticulture systems and also the vegetable farming.
Okay, Sharad, quickly coming to you now. How does the math add up, where government has to be the primary initiator to bring about these transformative moves to allow for farmers to be open to these technologies, not fearing that this is going to hit their pocket?
Yes, Megha, as you rightly said, I think the farmers' receptibility to the whole system or transformation to drip irrigation is a prerequisite, without doubt. Now, if you look at the numbers globally, about 4% of global fresh water is in India's possession. or shall I say, India has access to 4% of global waters. Whereas, 80% of the water is being used for agriculture. If you look at the international numbers, 80% of the fresh water which is available to the human beings is being used for agriculture even today. And with India having 4% access to waters is having 17 to 18% of the world population. So as far as India is concerned, I think the numbers very categorically speak for themselves that we have a water shortage at hand, whether it is drinking water or whether it is water for irrigation. We have a categorical shortage there, which is very, very visible. So hence, drip irrigation becomes very relevant. And if we just go into the very, very recent past, when government suggested to, for example, the protesting farmers to move to those 5 crops, arar, urad, masoor, those 5 crops, cotton and maize, if I'm naming all 5 of them correctly. One of the logic given Megha was that moving from rice, which is an extremely water intensive crop, they will bring down their cost. The productivity of the field of the crop will increase. The efficiency of the overall producer or overall farmer would also increase because you will be able to generate more money out of it. So I think, as I said, when you have to increase the revenue of the farmers, there are only 2 ways of doing it. Either you increase the price or you reduce the cost of production. Now, one of the ways you can reduce cost of production is bringing in efficiency, bringing in more productivity to the fields. And I think that is where drip irrigation comes, Megha. If they are able to produce more with the same piece of land, I think that's where the magic formula is. And I think the whole thing is aimed at the same thing, that you try and bring down the cost or at least increase the cost. Of course, one of my co-panelists said that the cost is 50 to 55,000 per acre, which is a very, very sizable amount of money. And you need government's help to be funding it, if not wholly, at least partially, or there should be loans available from the banks for drip irrigation. That's one. But the best way is to increase the productivity, to see that the same piece of land gives you more money, either by way of reduction of crops or by way of increasing the prices. And prices is what we've been talking about for so long. So I think drip irrigation has got a future, but then the extremely high capital cost involved or installation cost involved, I think is a bit of a detriment there, or the bit of a, I would say, a spoil sport there, which has to be looked into.
Yeah, and you particularly speak about how the farmers are being encouraged to switch to other crops that are not so water intensive, and therefore the MSPs that the government has proposed to pay for these particular crops and pulses. But the question that then arises, and a big challenge for the government as it is witnessing right now, is that the maximum number of farmers would want to cultivate the cash crops, because the largest the entire population of the country relies on wheat and rice, and not just within the country but across the globe as well. So how do we persuade the farmers? Is the MSP enough? Will they be able to generate same amounts of revenue or more if they were to shift to the other crops where MSPs are being encouraged?
No. The
Exactly.
answer is no.
Can I complete my answer?
Can
I complete my answer?
I'll come to you in there.
The farmers, that's where farmers need to be educated. Because if the farmers are explained the mathematics of planting a cash crop or a commercial crop vis-a-vis wheat and rice, I think most of the farmers, I have a feeling, especially in this Punjab, Haryana belt, because, generations of these farmers have been doing wheat and rice. So they have gotten so used to it. They feel that switching the crop may make them jobless, or probably switching the crop may make the field unfertile. So therefore, there is a need to educate the farmers, not just educate Megha. I'm stressing on this point. The education should be with numbers. If I've got a 2-acre piece of land and I generate, let's say, 200,000 rupees per annum, then I should be told that, look, I can generate 400,000 per annum, and my cost will be so and so. My take-home profit will be so and so. My savings will be so and so. This is the price. I think all this logic has to be conveyed in the right earnest to the farmers. That's the need of the hour. Only then you can see the transformation and transition, shall I say, happening.
Okay. Would you like to comment on this, Indeshekar?
Yes, Shri, I think a key point has been missed. The key point is that the farmers are growing this for actual profit. If you can maintain the same amount of profit between the paddy and the transition crops, the farmers have no problem shifting. If you offer them the same, remember the same profit per acre. For example, if they're growing paddy, they get an X amount of profit. When they grow moong dal, and first of all, you cannot grow moong dal in Kharif in Punjab because of the high moisture now in the soil. The dalhan fasals or the legume fasals, the new problem in Punjab that's emerged because of high irrigation and canal system is that the soil is too moist for oilseeds and legumes. And that's why Punjab is stuck with the paddy and wheat. So let's talk agriculturally. Again, I keep on focusing. You cannot think so much without wearing the agricultural hat. Because there are agricultural realities which cannot be triumphed with the industry logic. And that's what's happening in Punjab. In Punjab, you cannot grow moong anymore. And if you have to have transition crops for diversification, you need to ensure that the farmer, the Punjabi farmer, the Haryanvi farmer, the farmers in the Northwest get the same amount of profit at the end of every harvest. They'll shift in one season. I'm telling you, I've worked with farmers in Punjab. I come from a farming family myself. The real problem is the profit, the real profit margins. If you maintain them, the farmers will shift in 2 years or 3 years' time.
Right.
There is no problem with that. And the regions in the country that are now producing enough paddy, enough cereals like Telangana, South, Uttar Pradesh. So if the government has more procurement mandis in these places, I think the problem of Punjab and also the stubble burning problem will solve itself.
Okay. So then again, how do we, is there a solution to it? Because like I said, because these are the cash crops, everybody would desire to grow these crops. And if the MSPs are provided to the other crops, to the other pulses, will that persuade the farmers? Like you said, if they have the same profit margins, that will happen. So if the MSPs are being provided, what is the problem of the farmers?
Megha, the second problem is that the true cost of growing subsidized wheat and rice is not taken into account. Taxpayers, you and I have to pay for the chemical fertilizers that are harming the soils, harming the farmers, and also pushing inflation ahead. So if we actually take the real cost in which subsidies and the real cost of subsidies that the taxpayer is paying to these farmers is also accounted for, you will find that ecological farming is much more cheaper in terms of inputs and also gives much more profitability to the farmers.
Okay.
So the government should try and look at the real cost of this agriculture and stop the cancer trains from Punjab, stop the chemical contamination, stop the looting of water from Punjab, and actually look at the real cost and then compare it with the real system, which is not subsidized and only based on nature and agro-based solutions and biodiversity-based farming.
Okay. All right. So those are all the important points that have been mentioned. It's good to have this discussion, the limitations of drip irrigation, where is it that it can be utilized on a large scale, and of course the subsidies that need to be provided, that already are being provided by the government in terms of the low interest loans to the farmers, to the horticulturalists. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.